we'll get started. I'm officially now starting to record this. So we're going to go over a couple of things before we start. This is a lecture-only webinar. So what that means is I will be talking, and we'll have little diagrams that will come up on this main screen here where the logo is, and YouTube videos, and we'll kind of go over all that sort of stuff, and I'm just going to be giving a lecture. I will figure out a format maybe for later webinars or somewhere else we can all chat if anyone does have questions about the content of the webinar. So I'm kind of working on that right now, but because of the number of people that had registered, which was over 50 people, which is the max I can have in this room at the moment, which we are way under that. But because of that many people, I wasn't sure about having that many questions, and I didn't want the webinar to drag on for too long. So I'm working on a format where we can all kind of discuss some, have questions and things like that about the webinar after the fact or something along those lines. So in future webinars, that maybe run just a little bit differently, but for this one, it is going to be a lecture only. The next thing is that I am recording this. So this whole webinar will be recorded, and once I get it formatted and uploaded, no, Linda, you won't see me. I'm not going to turn my camera on. You just get to stare at the logo for right now. Anyway, it will be recorded, and I will have it available, be available on YouTube for everyone to watch. And I will put out all those details onto the NADAC Facebook page and onto the NADAC forum, where everybody can then be able to watch the recording whenever they want. And for those who couldn't make this webinar, will be able to watch it as well. So those are kind of a couple of key things I wanted to go over. And now we're going to go ahead and start, and we're going to talk about efficient barrel performances. So this webinar is just going to kind of go over, one, how I kind of start training the barrel, and the steps I take to ensure that my dogs will learn the skills that they need to take an efficient path around that barrel. So we're going to open up our first picture here, and this little diagram is a barrel with 3 hoops around it. So the circle here is the barrel, and these out here are the hoops. When I first start teaching my dog their barrel performance, I generally start with 3 hoops on the barrel in this format here. I, as a handler, will be down here where this pencil is. Depending on what direction I am sending the dog around the barrel, they will go through these 3 hoops to go around the barrel. Well, I start with the 3 hoops because I want to teach my dogs right from the beginning that I want a nice, tight, efficient path around that barrel. I do not want to teach them or let them learn how to go wide. I want to keep them as clean and as tight around that barrel as I can. So I do use the 3 hoops to really, one, it gives me a very nice visual of where my dogs are at. I can see as they're going through the hoops, they weigh to the outside edge of these hoops here, they weigh onto the inside. Does my dog hug the inside of these 2 hoops but then go way out on the outside of this one? Or do they start out wide and come in close? I mean, it kind of gives me a nice visual of where they're at around that barrel. And so that tells me kind of what I need to tighten up and what they're doing around that barrel. If I didn't have the hoops on the barrel, when you're kind of in the middle of, running and you're trying to, remember where you're going and giving directions to your dog, you might not see the exact path that the dogs are on. So the hoops around the barrel really gives me a nice path around that. Linda doesn't have any sound. Let's see. Everybody else, can you guys all hear me? Let me make sure that my mic is turned where it needs to be. Okay. Oh, everybody else. Okay. Okay, good. So Linda won't be able to hear me, so we will type to Linda. Okay, we'll figure this out in a second. So anyway, so I want my dogs to be able to learn right from the beginning that I want a nice, tight, clean path around that barrel. And so when I start my young dogs with their barrel training, I do start right out with these 3 hoops, which we'll go to a video here in a moment that'll show both of my pups working on the barrel with the 3 hoops around it. Now, there are times you're not going to always wrap the barrel. There are times when your dog may just need to go to the outside of the barrel. So, for instance, if we ignore these 3 hoops here, and I just want my dog, this pencil is my dog's path, my dog is just going to go to the outside, and we're going to continue that way. We'll talk about my commands here in a moment, but I have a little bit different commands for what kind of performance I want my dogs to do around the barrel. So, for instance, we will open up, well, we'll start with the diagram here. If I am where my pencil is, right here, and I want my dog to go through this hoop, let's see, let's get some ink out here. Okay, so I want my dog's path, oh gosh, is going to be this yellow line through the hoops, and my handling where I am is at this red dot. So my dogs are going to need to go through this first hoop. They're going to turn away from me. They're going to switch around the barrel and continue through the next 2 hoops. Hopefully that makes sense. So my command for that is if I want my dog to come to the inside of the barrel, which is to come in towards me, towards the inside of the barrel, and then they're going to turn away and wrap this barrel, my commands are come round. So what that means is come brings the dog to this inside path into me, and round means for my dogs to wrap the barrel. When I say round, that means for my dogs that I want them to wrap that barrel. I don't think I have an eraser. No, I do not. That is sad. Okay, so let's switch. Ignore the little red dot. And let's say now I am going to be this blue dot. So now I want my dogs. My dog is right here where my pencil is, and we're still following this yellow line. We're just going in the other direction. So now my dogs are going to go where my pencil is. We're going to go hoop, hoop, and hoop. I'm here. My dog is the pencil here. So now in this case, my dog is just wrapping the barrel. We're just doing, they're going out and around. We're just wrapping that barrel. So my command for that is now going to be out round. I wanted to keep my commands as simple as I can. I use out and come anyway. So I wanted to keep those same kind of directional comes. The only new command, quote unquote, is round. So when my dogs hear me say round, they know that means we are wrapping the barrel. They are going to, completely circle the barrel and come back down. Basically, the pattern of these 3 hoops. They are wrapping in that exact pattern right there. Now, if I want my dogs to do a pass by, which we will show in the video that's coming up, if I want my dogs to just pass by the barrel, which means I just want them to, where my pencil is here, they're just going to pass by it and we're going out this way, I'm just going to give them an out. My body language will cue them. The out means I want them to go to the outside of the barrel, and my body language I should be cueing with my arms and my feet that we were continuing on, like if I'm going to take them up here to this 30 mark, I'm giving them that command. But when they hear the round command, round means we are wrapping the barrel. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's go into our video, which will give us a little bit more of an idea here. So the first one we have is Allie, and my videos, when I edited them all together, they got edited backwards a little bit. So this is Allie working a barrel with no hoops, which actually when I start her, she has her 3 hoops on. But this is Allie working her barrel with no hoops on it, and the command I'm giving is out and round. So I say out round, and that tells her that she needs to go to the outside of the barrel and then go around. Now I'm going to do a come round. So that means she's coming to the inside of the barrel and circling around. Here we are again, come and round. And then for, those who have worked with me or trained with me or done any of my classes, the come and round is basically, it's come and switch, right? Switch means for my dogs to turn away from me, and that's the basic pattern that we're doing right here. And I had done barrels like that with Nargles, where I would give her a come and then a switch. But I was finding is that if I needed the wrap around the barrel, is that I was having to say come, switch, and then here or tight or something that tells them now, continue to turn. And I didn't want to have to say that much, especially when the dogs are running fast and you're in the middle of a course. I did not want to have to try to spit out 3 or 4 different commands to get my dog to go around one piece of equipment. So with both of these pups here, Allie and Trip, that you will see in a little bit later, they are both learning out round and come round. So even though my handling for the come round, which is our basic switch pattern, my handling for that, it looks like a switch, as it should, because the dog is turning away. But I'm going to use that command, that round command will only happen with that. And that round command means I want you to wrap that barrel, circle that barrel. So I'll go ahead and we'll do it again. Now this is a pass by. So now there I'm just giving her an out, and my body language is continuing on, and we'll do it again. So as you can see, I say out, and then my body language is cueing her to continue out, past the barrel and around. So if this was a course, if let's say I had a jump here and then I had a jump over here, I would be able to cue her over this jump, tell her out, and then cue into the next jump. And so I didn't create any special command for the barrel per se, as far as I'm not telling her, out barrel or anything like that. I'm expecting from the foundation training that I'm doing here, and her knowledge of how my cues work, is that when I say out, that means to go to the outside of this barrel. And then my body language carries it through. Now, if I told her out round, I would expect her to go to the outside of the barrel and then round it. I think we do this again. Oh no, we're going to do another round the barrel thing. Out round. And a come round. Now this should have been before. So here's the 3 hoops on the barrel, and this is how I've started both the pups. So this video should have been in the beginning, but my editing was not grand yesterday. So as you can see, let's pause this real quick. As you can see, we've got the barrel here. I've got these 2 hoops directly across each other in a 180 pattern, and then my top hoop is just right at the top. Makes like just a nice little circle. It should mimic the path that I want my dogs to take around that barrel. It teaches them to, in my opinion, it teaches them to be clean, to be tight, really teaches them nice path work around that barrel. And in my opinion, most importantly, it teaches myself really nice path work. When it's just the barrel out there, my dog could come out and be way out here, way on the outside of these hoops. But in the heat of the moment, when I'm running, I'm probably thinking to myself, woohoo, we went around the barrel, yay. But in reality, my dog was really, really, really wide, taking a very inefficient path, which is costing me time, but also from a physical standpoint, I don't want my dog to learn to go around, the barrel without bending their spine. We could get into long conversations, with jumping in the same manner. When I teach my dogs their jumping skills, the first thing I teach them is how to bend, how to bend their spine so they stay nice and clean and smooth. And I want both Allie and Trip to learn with this barrel not to say come through this hoop straight and then make a turn and then come through this hoop. Like I want her to actually, you can see her head and her spine bending around that barrel and not just running full bore and putting, it's hard to explain, I wish I had video, but running full bore and then kind of planting their front end or their rear end and trying to make a really hard, fast turn. I want her to approach this hoop already with her shoulder open and preparing to round that barrel, which is why I really like using the 3 hoops like this, is because it really teaches them that really, really nice path work. And I saw it, Sharon does it with all of her puppies and all of her dogs, and after watching all her dogs do it, and her dogs have great barrels, I'm definitely putting the hoops on my barrel so that my dogs can all learn the same nice, clean path work around that barrel. And I have, I did do it with Nargles one time, is that she was having a little bit of issue really getting herself to turn around that barrel and be really clean and open with it. And I actually stuck another hoop right here, so it was directly across from this top blue hoop here. I stuck it right there, and I just made her just sit and actually do full circles around that barrel to really help her learn that she can open her shoulder and really, you know, turn her spine around that barrel and not just use her front or her rear end to plant and then turn, if that makes sense. So we'll go ahead and we'll play again here. We're going to do a come round. Oh, and I moved in a little bit too soon. That was a bad handling error. There we go. Come round. Very nice. Oh my gosh, we went to Trip. So this is Trip. And this is probably his, oh geez, maybe third time working the barrel with the hoops like this. He has never seen a barrel without hoops yet. He's only done one trial so far. So he's learning right from the get-go how to, you know, give a nice clean turn. There's our out round. He's very enthusiastic about life in general. But see, as he's entering that first hoop, he's already starting to turn. I really like where he's going. He's starting to want to bend his spine and actually create an arc around that barrel and not just using his body to kind of slam into it. So now here he is without any hoops whatsoever. We just did this the other day. And, oh, there we go. So he's not, I did this for the webinar as far as, you know, kind of showing, you know, him going around a barrel without hoops, but I would probably keep him with the hoops around the barrel. There's a pass by. We're going to pause it real quick. I would probably keep hoops on the barrel with him for probably at least another, maybe depending on how much I train, how many, you know, if I get out there every day and work with him, he'll probably continue to have hoops on his barrel for at least another week, if not 2. I really, really want him to learn how to create that arc around the barrel. And I also want to not, you know, right now I'm right up next to the barrel. I also want to take this out into the training field and be able to do 2 hoops and around the barrel or a tunnel around the barrel and start adding more and more equipment. The one thing I don't want to do is do all this really very controlled. This is a very controlled exercise right now. As far as that there's no speed going into this barrel and there's no speed coming out of this barrel right now. So if I were to do all this groundwork with the hoops on the barrel and, you know, he's getting really good, he's looking really good, and I think to myself, yay, he's really got it. So we go out to the training field and I just take the hoops off and we just start running, and with no hoops on the barrel, well, he could very easily, you know, lose his clean, efficient path around that barrel. Because we haven't done enough speed in and speed out work with that barrel to really teach him how to extend and then collect to make that turn around the barrel and then extend back out again. So I will want to take what I'm doing here with these hoops around the barrel. I'm going to now take it out into my big field, and he's going to do, you know, some jumps into this sequence and some jumps out of the sequence. He's going to do a tunnel around the barrel, out to a couple jumps, off a dog walk around the barrel. I really want to work him on all sorts of different sequences, and Allie as well, on all sorts of different sequences with the hoops on the barrel. And then when I really feel like, okay, he understands what's going on. He understands how to create that arc around the barrel, how to bend his spine around the barrel. Now we can go ahead and, you know, take the hoops off. And depending on, you know, where he's at, I might just take that top hoop off instead of all 3 and kind of see how he does there, make sure his turns are still nice and clean. But if any point in time I start to feel like his turns are getting wide and he's really jamming himself to get around the barrel and not giving me that really clean, pretty line I'm looking for, I'm going to put those 3 hoops right back on again. So this is him. This is probably his... Yeah, this is probably his first time without hoops on a barrel. And like I said, it's a very controlled little exercise we're doing here. I wouldn't take him out right now with no hoops on the barrel. Like, I really want to see him do it for a while and really fully understand what he's doing. We'll go ahead and do it again. I think I'm going to do another pass by. Yep, so this is a pass by, and it's just like what I was talking about earlier, is that I'm cueing him. I give him his out to go to the outside of the barrel, and then my feet and my body language is cueing him to continue on. I don't feel like I need another command. There are many trainers and many competitors out there who have specific barrel commands, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am a big, big believer in do what works for you. Do what feels right. And I didn't want to create a specific command where I had to say, you know, out barrel or something like that, because I feel all my other commands, if I want to send my dog to the tunnel, I just say go. I don't say go tunnel. Or if I want to say, you know, out to the walk it, I just say out. So I wanted to treat the barrel in that same way, is that it's just, I want to give the directionals for it. So the only new directional, quote unquote, that I have is the round command, which is basically I'm telling them to wrap. I kind of viewed teaching them the round command is that I'm kind of combining all these commands into one. So instead of me having to say, you know, out tight and off we go to do a barrel, or switch tight or switch here or whatever I want to use, I can just say round, and that tells my dog I need them to wrap the barrel. So we'll go ahead and we'll watch little Tripper a little bit more here. And there's out round. I don't know if you guys probably can't hear me over this talking, what I'm saying. And there's just another pass by. And another pass by. And I think that's all I do. Let's go back and find a piece of the video that has the hoops. There we go. There's Allie. So again, I love putting the hoops on the barrel like this. I really think it teaches the dogs a really nice, clean, tight path. And I also, with Nargles, my older dog who's competing, whenever I take her out, whenever I'm practicing and there's a barrel in the sequence that I'm practicing, I go out and I put 3 hoops on it. Just for the fact that I want her in practice, I want to continue to keep those nice tight turns. So I want her to, you know, keep that muscle memory, or whatever you want to word it, in check at all times. No different, not to diverge into another topic, but no different than when I do contacts. I tend to always put a hoop at the bottom for Nargles' running contacts, so that she learns to keep her head down and she runs nice and clean. I view the barrel in that same way, is that I always want to help them out and make sure they're giving me that consistent performance that I'm looking for every single time in practice. So I view the barrel in the same way. These pups will have the hoops on the barrel, depending on how much I train. They will have the hoops on the barrel for at least a couple more weeks. And then Nargles, you know, I usually always stick the hoops back on unless I'm working something specific on the barrel to really keep that nice, clean, tight path that we're looking for. So if we watch Tripper again, you should be able to really start seeing him as he goes around. He really starts bending his spine around it. He's figuring it out slowly but surely. He had a hard time to begin with when we first started the barrel. There, that was a little bit, he kind of went through that first hoop a little straight and then turned. And that was better. You can actually see him start to, you know, open his shoulder and want to, you know, get around that barrel in a nice arc instead of, you know, driving through. So I hope that kind of makes sense to everybody. And like I said, we can start a discussion on the NADAC forum that would just be, you know, just for the webinars, where we can sit and talk about the materials that we've gone over, and that's where I can post the webinar links. I can talk to Sharon and Chris about that, and we can just start up a little tab that is just for these webinars. This one seemed to go really well, except for the fact my mic wasn't working for the longest time beforehand. I will go ahead and I will start scheduling some more of these webinars that will all be NADAC skills webinars, and I will get the schedule out for everybody, and we can continue to have more and more of these, and hopefully we can get, like I say, get a discussion thing going with the webinar links, where we can kind of talk about all of the content and any questions that anyone may have, and all of that sort of good stuff. We can expand on anything. I don't have like tons and tons of time, but because we didn't get as many people as not as many people who registered did not show up. So I got to kind of see what happened there, make sure something didn't happen. If you guys have any questions, I can probably answer them. We can do that. How early do you start bending the young dog? And that's a good question. So as far as exercises like this, this goes into like a whole other topics. Because I don't start skill training my dogs as far as like what I'm doing with Trip right here. I don't start skill training my dogs until they're probably at least, maybe 10 to 12 months old, I would say. Everything I do is all foundation stuff. You know, it's all groundwork foundation as far as, like targeting and teamwork skills and things like that. So my dogs don't see any of this sort of work until they're close to a year. And I would probably say this isn't as strenuous as doing something like weaving. As far as it's not that hard on a very young dog's body, but doing something like this where you're asking for many repetitions and really working on the dog's body, I would probably wait until they're closer to a year, and not even just physically but mentally as well. Just to give them that little bit of time and all that. But I usually don't do any sort of this obstacle skill work stuff till they're close to a year. Marcy, just curious, I've seen you train 2 hoops side by side with tight. Why did you decide not to do tight with the barrel? So that's a good question. So the reason being is that when I'm doing, like 2 hoops, like a 180 with just 2 hoops, is I will give them, their switch tight if I need to be, if they need to change directions away from me, or just a switch. But with the barrel, I have less time. So those 2 hoops, when they enter, let's see if we can bring up this diagram. So ignore our barrel down here. If I have a hoop here, forgive the drawing, and I have a hoop here, if I'm where the pencil is, and I want my dogs to do a switch, and then let's say a tight, right? Because I need them to turn as tight as they can to do this 180 for whatever reasons. There's a tunnel up here or something. So as my dog is coming to this first hoop where this pencil is, my dog's coming here, and my handling position, because I'm doing a switch, I'm over here somewhere. So my dog is the pencil, and I'm coming towards this blue line, which is my hoop. I'm going to say switch, right? So my switch is going to happen somewhere back here to prepare my dogs, which is usually a stride or 2, depending on the dog, before the hoop or the jump. So my dog comes here. I'm going to be giving my switch somewhere in here. My dog does a switch. I now have this, there's time, right? So I have switch, and then as my dog is just getting ready to land, I'm going to be giving my tight or my here to get to this next hoop. When it comes to the barrel, now when I come to just this barrel here, I don't have all that time. I have switch, which is going to change the direction, and then I have to immediately follow in with tight. And I don't have enough time to get the words out in just that small span of how big the barrel is. Especially the more and more distance work I do, especially with these 2 pups, is I didn't want to be trying to give out multiple commands for just this one piece of equipment. Does that make sense, Marcy? I hope I explained it kind of sort of right. Robin, what do you mean by the tunnel around the barrel? Oh, so what I meant by that, I'm sorry, is that not actually a tunnel like around the barrel. I meant like a tunnel and then 20 feet, and they go to a barrel, wrap it, and back to the tunnel. Not like an actual tunnel wrapped around the barrel, although that would be pretty cool. Does that make sense, Robin? I just meant it like as a sequence, like tunnel, barrel, back to the tunnel, or to a hoop, or something like that. Does anybody else have any other questions? I was trying to imagine that, yeah. When you said tunnel around the barrel, I'm like, oh, that would be a cool idea. There we go. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. And like I said, I will figure out whether we do it on the forum or we'll figure something out to have a place where all these webinars will be, because we are going to do more. I'm going to actually try to get one snuck in before I have to leave next week. So we'll try to get more in of these free NADAC skills webinars. And I'll try to figure out a place to have them where all the links to all the webinars are available to everyone, as well as we can open up discussion, with any questions and anybody who wants to sit and discuss the webinar. So this is all being recorded, so just keep an eye out on the NADAC Facebook page and on the NADAC forum, and I will update everyone as to where the recording will be. Thank you all so much for coming.